We're only a few days away from the full official release of James Gunn's Superman, a movie that's been in the making for years at this point, and a movie that has been discussed to death, and understandably so. This is Superman, after all. This is a superhero who's been around for nearly a century, so everybody knows who he is, and everyone has their expectations of what they think they'll see when they walk into a Superman movie. And certainly there's been a lot of marketing for this. James Gunn has been out there everywhere talking about it, including maybe making a few missteps, talking about how political this movie truly is. Well, even though we're a few days away from the full release, we're less than 24 hours away from the early Amazon Prime screenings on Tuesday, and only hours away from the reactions of all the influencers that were invited to the Superman premiere. I wonder what those are going to be like. I wonder if the people who got invited there for shilling for this movie for 2 years are going to like it or not. I wonder. No idea. But the premiere is ongoing as I'm recording this video, and I'll probably release it in a few hours. But James Gunn is already trying to temper expectations. He's been out there doing a lot of damage control for this movie for a while, telling lies about the budget, things like that. Well, now he's trying to say, you know what? If anybody thinks that this movie needs to make a bunch of money to be successful, well, they're clearly just full of it. James Gunn says it's nonsense to think Superman will flop if it doesn't make $700 million. It doesn't need to be as big as people are saying. There you go. A quote you can attribute to James Gunn for any reason whatsoever. It doesn't need to be as big as people are saying. Good to know. James Gunn's Superman is set to launch an entire DC universe, but the writer-director's not feeling the kind of pressure one might think. Gunn, who's also co-head of DC Studios, recently told GQ, as part of a cover story for Superman, that his movie is not the riskiest endeavor in the world as some are painting it. Is there something riding on it? Yeah, but it's not as big as people make it out to be. They hear these numbers, the movie's only going to be successful if it makes $700 million or something, and it's just complete and utter nonsense. It doesn't need to be as big of a situation as people are saying. Let's look at this a little bit. This is James Gunn trying to temper expectations. This is him doing preemptive damage control for his movie. Now, if they felt it was going to be $1 billion, would you even need to come out and say something like this? Probably not. The early tracking for this, it is very puzzling to determine a good tracking for what we expect this to be over the opening weekend. All eyes are going to be on the box office. There's no doubt about that. But the idea that, well, if it doesn't make $700 million, it doesn't really mean anything. There's financial implications behind these box office returns. There's also just reputational things to factor in. I do think that the reaction to this Superman movie is important more than just what is the bottom line at the box office. For instance, if this makes $725 million, maybe not the biggest financial reward in the world and probably won't even break even, which I'll get into later, but if people loved it, if people were hyped about it, if it maybe started off a little bit lower but then had a really good hold and it generated a lot of excitement for the future, they can take those things as a win moving into the rest of the DC universe. But also the numbers are the numbers, right? Say it has a massive opening weekend and then has a huge drop-off, ends up running out to the same about $725 million, but people leave very disappointed. They didn't like what they see. They're not excited to see something else, but you got a big opening weekend. That probably wouldn't bode so well for them. But when you talk about this, and James Gunn specifically saying $700 million, there's a reason he said that number, because that is one of the numbers that's been out there, and it's very important for this movie to get by. Why? Because Man of Steel, Zack Snyder's Man of Steel from 12 years ago, Man of Steel at the box office was about $660 million. Now, in today's money, with inflation factored in, that'd be well over $800 million. No doubt about it. But if this movie doesn't perform better than Man of Steel from 12 years ago, it's going to be massive egg on the face for this universe, for this franchise that threw that vision out the door and decided to go with James Gunn for bigger and better things. Obviously, that is on your mind. But when you get into just straight up the numbers, remember, we saw what they spent on Superman. Official tax documents in the state of Ohio revealed that the Superman budget was $363 million. That's not a rumor. That's not speculation. That's not a leak. That is official tax documents that they filed with Ohio in order to take advantage of the tax benefits. Now, certainly, because you're filming in these places, you can get those tax benefits and decrease that number a little bit. Will it get down to the $225 million they're telling you? Probably not. Because that's what they've gone out and told everybody that this costs. $225 million. That's what they are saying. Little bit hard to close that gap. $150 million in tax benefits for filming in the United States. I don't really think that that is the case. But let's take them at their word. Let's take Warner Brothers, who was caught lying on, say, the Flash budget, things like this. Let's take them at their word. That $363 million official expenditure from them that they claimed on taxes. Let's say that they somehow, with the tax incentives, got all the way down to $225 million. Well, then you got to factor in the marketing. Marketing for big summer blockbusters, usually $150 million for big comic books. This one, more expensive. They went bigger. $200 million for the marketing campaign, an unprecedented marketing campaign for Superman, which would put the total cost of the movie that you've sunk in this movie at around $425 million, best case scenario. Certainly, knowing what that original budget number was, certainly could be around $500 million, but that's, worst case scenario. Let's take best case scenario. You're still talking about a movie that, without everything else included, whatever they might sell in home video, on demand, stuff like this down the line, you're still talking about a movie that would need to get upwards of $800 million just to break even, and that is the best case scenario for them. So when you see James Gunn saying things like this, it is clearly to temper people's expectations, to massage the narrative. So if this thing does come out and make $650 million, then they can say, oh, guys, we're really happy with this result. When in reality, not only would that be a financial loser for them, but it would also be reputational damage for them with this movie. I understand why he's doing it. I understand why he denied the official tax documents. I understand why he lies about these things, because he's trying to make the movie look better. He's trying to make himself look better. And look, I'm going to go see this tomorrow night. I got one of those early Amazon Prime screenings, so I'm going to see it tomorrow night. I have been left completely feeling meh about all of the marketing and all of the shit when it comes to this movie. I think they've made a lot of marketing mistakes, and all of the trailers and stuff I've seen, nothing gets me excited for it. I don't hate what I've seen necessarily. I just feel very uninspired and very meh about the entire thing. We'll see if I feel the same way at the movie, but there's no denying what this is. This is desperately trying to gaslight people into thinking that, well, it really doesn't have to make any money to be a success. Don't worry about it. That doesn't need to be that big of a deal. It's just Superman. It's just restarting our entire universe. It's just the first thing that is supposed to lead to so many more things. And if it doesn't succeed the way they feel like it needs to, a lot of plans are going to change, right? It's just that. It's not that big of a deal. It is this big of a deal, and all eyes are on it, understandably so. Will Superman fly at the box office, or will he fall? And if this thing, my prediction has always been around $700 million. That's been my prediction for this thing for months now. I still feel that way, around $700 million worldwide when it's all said and done. Even that wouldn't beat Man of Steel with inflation, but the headlines will be the headlines. Oh, it surpasses Man of Steel. That's really all they care about. Most people aren't going to look into inflation. But if it doesn't, if it comes in at 625, 650, doesn't even match that Man of Steel number, there's going to be a lot of pressure on James Gunn for what the future of this franchise holds. What do you guys think about this? Let me know in the comment section below. Smash a like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I'll talk to you later.